Hi, today I'm going to take you through some work I've been doing this weekend to get my car race prepared ahead of next week's setup morning at Caterham Gatwick. There are a number of things you need to do to get your car ready to go out on track, and I'm going to take you through them. We'll walk through the car from front to back and I'll share what I've done. If you've got any questions at all, it's lovely to hear from you, so please pop your questions in the comment box below and I'll definitely come back to you. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. This makes a massive difference to me and the success of the channel. And of course, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. So let's get started. Starting at the front of the car, the first thing you'll notice is the toe straps have been added. If you break down on track or you're in the gravel, etc., the marshals need to get you and the car out of the way quickly and safely. The toe straps just pull down, they can actually hook up and get you pulled off the circuit, loaded on the trailer, whatever, as quickly as possible and get the racing back underway for everybody else. Also at the front of the car, you see the cross of tape on the headlights. I use Gorilla Tape. I find this to be particularly good, and the tape's there to prevent glass from actually getting onto the circuit. So if the headlight breaks, the last thing you want is that glass scattering across a race circuit. So the tape's there just to help keep everything in place should that happen. Moving into the engine bay, there's a few changes. You'll notice these 3 brass nozzles. Well, that's the fire extinguisher system, so it can be triggered from either outside the car or from in the cockpit to actually put out an engine fire should that happen. Also with the oil system, when the car's on track, it can tend to push oil out through the breather system, and for that reason there's a particularly large oil catch tank. Just before our race, I'll actually cable tie down the dipstick, again to prevent oil from actually pushing up and out through the dipstick. Staying under the bonnet, I've actually taken the decision to remove the inertia switch. So the cars are fitted with a switch. Should it be in a collision, it will actually automatically stop the fuel pump. Now when you're on track, you can easily get hit or go over a curb hard or whatever, and it could trigger the inertia switch, cutting the power, and that's the last thing you want when you're on circuit. So really you've got 2 red options. You can either remove it, which is the decision I've taken, or you can move it to inside the cockpit, so should it get triggered you can easily reactivate it again and get power back. Here you see the addition of a fuel sampling coupling. In post-scrutineering, they may draw off some fuel to get it tested. We run just standard 95 unleaded. Any variation to that is a violation of the rules, and this is how they check for that. The other thing I've done under the bonnet is change the brake fluid reservoir cap to one with a bellow. That just helps prevent any fluid from leaking out. Moving around into the cockpit, there's quite a few changes here. The first notable one is the change of the perfectly nice tilt seat to a rather homemade looking race bag seat. Part of racing regulation is you have to have at least 5 centimeters of clearance between the top of the helmet and the top of the roll bar, and in the standard tilt seat I was nowhere near this, so this left me with 2 real options. If budget had allowed, I would have gone for a bead seat. These are made for you, so you go and get fitted into them, perfectly shaped for you. You're going to be sat perfectly. In terms of durability, they last and last and last. They are really nicely covered in fire retardant fabric, but as you will know if you're following this channel, I'm doing this season on an absolute budget, and 1,400 quid for a bead seat was a no-go, so I went for option number 2, which is known as the bag seat. So for 60 quid I made myself a race seat out of 2-part builder's foam, covered in gaffer tape. It might not look the best, but let me tell you, it's the most comfortable I've ever been in a Caterham car. It's absolutely fantastic. So in terms of durability, it might last a season, it won't last 2, but it's 60 quid, not 1,400 quid. So you know, that was what fitted my budget. If budget allows, go for the bead seat every single time. It's purely a budget thing. The next thing you'll notice is the 6-point racing harness, and I've taken the time to get all of the belts adjusted to exactly the right lengths. The 6-point racing harness has the extra couple of leg straps, and this prevents you from what's known as submarining. So if you're in a front collision, heavy collision, you don't want to be sliding down the seat, it just keeps you in place. Also, you'll see attached to the harness these hand restraints. We wear these when we're racing. If we were to roll over, your natural instinct is actually to put your hands up. And the last thing you want to do is have your hands up outside of the cage if the car's rolling over. So these just keep your hands and your arms within the confines of the roll cage of the car. Because of the hand restraint straps, we have to cover over the end of the handbrake to stop it from snagging. Now you can simply use some gaffer tape across the end of the handbrake. This is perfectly acceptable, works brilliantly. However, I think this solution from Soft Bits for Sevens is really nice. And because I use the car on the road more than I do on the track, it's a really nice way to be able to put the handbrake back into operation really quickly and easily without having to remove the gaffer tape each time. Another addition in the seat area is the addition of a head restraint. This prevents your head from moving back too far if you are in a collision and prevent an injury that way. The most notable thing you'll see when we look at the dash is the addition of the V-Box screen. So I'll do a whole separate video on V-Box, I'm sure, during the season. But the V-Box screen is giving you live timing information, so your current lap time, predicted lap time, that sort of thing. I've also added an ignition switch and removed the key barrel, which is normally located on the steering column. This has given me a lot more leg room, and it also prevents from accidentally hitting the key to the off position when you're on track. The fire extinguisher can be triggered either from inside the car by pulling this lever, or on the outside of the car it can be triggered perhaps by a marshal if required, the same by pulling this lever. And just underneath it you'll notice the power kill switch, and this can be activated from inside the car or again by the marshal should it be required. The final couple of changes in the cockpit area is the addition of the wide angle rear view mirror, bought from Demon Tweaks. Absolutely fantastic, improves your rear view visibility immensely. And also you'll notice that there's tape between the top of the roll bar and the top of the windscreen. This actually helps prevent any moisture or rain or whatever from leaking down between the two while you're racing. Okay, and a few changes to the roll bar. Most notably is the addition of the padding, and this is required wherever your helmet may come into contact with the roll bar. Looking at the back of the car, you will see the super bright rain light has been fitted. And also here are the two cameras used. The forward facing one is a regulatory requirement to have a forward view being recorded at all times whilst we're racing. But there's also one pointing backwards, and that can help with any kind of analysis after the race, so I can see what's going on behind. A very small change to the wheels. The centre caps are removed. This is just to prevent them from actually falling onto the racetrack. Moving on to the boot space, this is where the fire extinguisher is fitted. And you'll also see that I've taped up all of the gaps with a fire retardant metal tape, and this is required as the fuel tank literally sits right underneath, so from a regulatory point of view it needs to be taped all the way around. And finally you'll see the tow strap has been fitted at the rear of the car. So there we are, the car is now race prepared ahead of next week's visit to Caterham Cars for the setup morning, and then 2 weeks after that we're all together at Donington Park for a handling day, but during the day they're going to do a mock scrutineering exercise. That gives us any chance to do any final rectifications ahead of our first race. I hope you found this really informative. If you've got any questions at all, please do get in contact and take the time now to like and subscribe to the channel. It'll be much appreciated. But otherwise, I will see you next time.